Welcome back, beautiful bastards. The name is Wolf, and this is one of my 3 potential cycle starters I might dabble into. This is my most experimental one, which is why I am dropping it now, so that somebody perhaps wiser and smarter than me can sway me from the path of stupidity if I am indeed going down that road. But yes, if you like the idea of having an active minion build that theoretically should be able to destroy all content and tank most things in the game, then take a look at the planner. We'll go through it, and hopefully we can perhaps figure out a way to put it even to greater heights or sway ourselves from the sheer level of stupidity. Because there were a lot of buffs, so it should be good, right? That's how that works. Things that are buffed are good, right? So before we dive into the planner, a reminder that this is indeed coming from somebody who has more experience in the mage and the primalist more so than the sentinel. I've never really played sentinel, but it seems like a good cycle, a good time to maybe try it out, right? Yes, we do have 2 versions, one with healing hands and one with manifested armor. We'll go through those in just a second. And I'm using multi-strike as well because Warpath hurts my hand, and I don't like spin to win skills like Whirlwind and PoE. Not a big fan. But yes, let's take a look at the skills real quick. The big bad boy here is a level 37 Forge Strike. That's the basis of this particular build. We're going to be summoning a lot of forge weapons, and we're going to go buff those forge weapons. That's the idea. We're going to have this active minion build, right? That's kind of the idea. We're picking up some utility with the excessive points that we have and the ability to spam, because that gives us access to armor bonuses as well as reinforced weapons. So every 4 seconds, you click the big hammer, good things happen. You shred a little bit, some good AoE. But mostly it's about summoning those minions and making those minions stronger. How do we summon those minions? We use multi-strike for that. There's a nice note at the bottom here, Forge Mastery, chance to summon weapons. So we're going to use our weapon, we're going to attack very, very fast with it, and we're going to get many stacks of armaments, which also gives us a little bit of AoE, but more importantly, it's going to summon those weapons to help us do damage and also clear a little better. On top of that, we're going to transform some of those weapons, or at least give them additional benefits. We will also transform them into axes for greater stats. We will also give them other benefits like a double initial strike, which is very, very cool. We're going to get a little bit of base crit with the excessive points because critting allows us to sustain and do a little bit more damage. We're picking up attack speed. We're picking up more armament stacks. Just very, very good amounts of value that we can have by just having a lot of these armament stacks that also help us get an incredible amount of value through armor, which is tankiness, block effectiveness if we do pick up a little block later down the line. We also have some mana gain per stack if we do drop to 0 mana. I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue due to our passives. More about that later. I don't know how this is going to work out. I'm just going to be safe more so than I am sorry. If I find myself never having mana issues, of course we're going to spec out of these things and we're going to put them elsewhere to pick up some more damage or perhaps some more utility. Who knows? Determination is still here. We have Initiate right here still. There are options. We have 31 multi-strike points, not potions, points. So we have a very, very good one to go with. We also have Manifest Armor level 27. This is the flex one. Since we are a minion build and we scale a lot of minion stats as well as attunement, which scales the minions, including Manifest Armor, I kind of figured why not get Manifest Armor as well, because it's just a value pick, right? We do get a lot of great armor. The better gear we have, the better the Manifest Armor itself will become as we increase the stats it receives from our gear. We give it a little bit of melee damage, a little bit of fire damage, a whirlwind strike. We give it a sword, a little bit of sustain for the survivability, and then also some more scalable damage based on 10 armor per our chest, which is very, very solid. However, there is an alt version of this. If we switch to my other version, you will notice very quickly that this is Healing Hands. We have no Manifest Armor. Healing Hands also scales with attunement, so the scaling remains the same. There's no changes in passive skills or anything, and we still get spell power from the Bane of Evil. Other than that, it's literally just, you don't have to click anything. It's just there because we have auto-procking it. We're making it cost nothing with the -5, -6 right here, which as you can see with the 11 cost becomes free. We also have a little bit of healing scaling, but more importantly, we are picking up the fire damage just to help out a little bit of clear. It also gives us a little bit more damage buff right down there, as well as a bit of increased healing, which of course gives us more spell damage for the damage itself and more sustain through our healing, but also for our minions, the blades, which is very, very good. it might be a little nicer just to have a source of actual sustain, because without this, the sustain is very dependent on an item, but without that item, yeah, it's going to be a little rough if you don't have healing hands. So it's just something I am contemplating, to maybe use healing hands over manifest armor. But that's depending on how it's going to feel if we go down this path. I'm not sure how it's going to feel, because everything got a little changed with the 1.1 patch notes. Sigils of Hope remain a very powerful buff. This is perhaps the most frustrating aspect of the build, as a result of the fact that you have to buff yourself. We do have the Sigils of Hope stacked to 5, which is very, very nice. We're going to get ourselves more damage, which also affects our allies, which is all our minions, but also give them flat fire damage, which is very, very good. And then also we get a little bit of endurance threshold, but we are maximizing the duration. I guess I could take out 1 point right here and then give it to Iron Sigils for more endurance threshold, which is not too bad a buff. But yes, for convenience sake, I am simply going to try to maximize the duration, so I have to cast as little as possible. There is an argument to be made to maybe go down here with agency or exigency, because that makes it an instant cast, which might be worth it, but it's going to cost 4 points to get there. 2 here, and then, well, actually, no, it's going to go cost us 3 points, because we already have 4 points here to pick up Decree of Flame, or the 3 here. So we have to pick up Ward of Alacrity twice, which is fine, and then pick up maybe exigency. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, but it allows us to instantly cast, which means it won't slow us down that much, which might be the play in terms of vibe, so to speak, to make the playstyle feel better. But we'll have to see how that goes along the path. Our mobility skill right here is Void Cleave. Since we don't use Warpath or anything like that, or use Healing Hands as our movement skill, which you can also do, which is kind of wild. I like using Void Cleave for 2 reasons. One, it gives us a very wonderful movement skill. We're going to reduce the cooldown. It's also going to give us a little bit of Shred, Void Rest Shred, which we turn to Fire with Hellish Chasm. We also make sure we have a guarantee hit and a little bit of vulnerability stacks, because we are crit based, right? So that's very, very good, because if we do hit the enemy, we can actually make it so that we buff our minions with this flat damage buff, which is very, very nice. Alternatively, we can buff this further by making sure that if we hit our minions instead, we give them a greater effect. However, I'm not sure if that's going to feel okay. I am half certain it's going to be frustrating at times, so I might just take this point, so I have a greater consistency of getting the buff, as opposed to having half uptime on a greater buff, and take that point and perhaps put it elsewhere, like maybe some more area, or perhaps some more max distance. I don't know. This is one of those things that you have to kind of vibe with, because if you do enjoy it, it's going to be great, and if you dislike it, it's going to be frustrating, but you have options in that sense. And that's kind of the play for the skills, right? I have never had more than 25 points in the base class, but here we are. We do pick up the strength, because strength is also armor, and armor is a big part of our defensive layer. So there you go. Fire Rest, Void Rest, very comfy. We pick up a little bit of stun chance and physical damage. You could pick up vitality and increased health regen instead for the travel nodes if you want to. We're picking up 5 points in armor clad. It's just perfect. Very reminiscent of the Shaman as well, or at least the Druid defensive layers, or one of them at least. Valiant Charge, which makes our movement skill 30% faster in terms of cooldown recovery, which is very, very good, because we're making Void Cleave a movement skill, right? We'll also pick up a little bit of health, which is just very nice. This is going to make sure that we sustain health and life just as long as we are attacking. This is our primary source without healing hands and without items. So having a very fast multi-strike is going to be very, very useful for this. It's going to help us stay topped off in most situations. Very, very potent. And this allows us to also pick up the 30% attack speed bonus through Blade Master, which is very good, because we are using a two-hander, and two-handers are relatively slow. We are using a two-hander because we are picking up Void Cleave, and Void Cleave does have the requirement of needing a two-handed sword or axe. If you're using a one-hander with maybe a shield, perhaps you can pick up Ring of Shields and such and do a different path, but that is not the path I am taking. Anyway, going back to the actual passives. Right here, I have decided to go for 10 points of Weapon Master, for the obvious reasons of strength and travel nodes. We're picking up Unflinching because this gives us minion stun immunity, and since we are a minion build, this is very, very potent. We don't want our minions to be stunned, because that means they don't do anything. This also allows us to have a little bit of stun avoidance ourselves and a bit of health, so it's very nice. Guardian, just more health, more defenses. There's not a whole lot we can pick up here that is like supernatural, since we are a crit build, not a dot build. Otherwise, Smelter's Might would have been a no-brainer. It still might be, but so far I don't think it is worth it necessarily. But if you want to go dots, Smelter's Might is a must. What is a must regardless is the Iron Attunement. We are stacking a little bit of attunement because it's going to increase our power in minions, but also it's going to allow us to get some more mitigation. We have a lot of damage over time mitigation, much more than I'm used to, so I'm very happy to take some damage over time this cycle with this particular build. Also, a little bit of armor, a little bit of minion armor, very, very good. Hammer and Anvil is phenomenal. As you can see, more attack speed when they cost enough mana, which is very, very good. So make sure that your minion increased attack speed on 20 mana cost skills is a thing. You can trigger that, make sure you have that. Armor shred chance, minion armor shred chance. I don't have to explain why you want shred on a crit build, I hope. 10 points of folded steel. The 5-point bonus is mandatory because we are a minion build and that gives us more minions. But the flat damage, since we are mostly focusing around melee physical damage, is just going to be phenomenal. The duration increase is just very comfy. And the Manifest Armor melee physical damage is also very nice if you indeed run the version of the Manifest Armor, right? We are picking up 6 points of Might as well for the strength and the increased health. Just very natural, good stats, number go up. We're picking up Infinite Bulwark. It's very nice for the 4-point bonus, but also, as you can see, shared increased armor and potion use. Just a little bit defensive, a little bit of utility. It also allows us to get access to the Liquid Iron, which is less damage over time taken, which is doubled if we have used a potion recently, and also gives us a bunch of physical res, which is very comfortable. We could pick up Battle Hardened as well, which is not a terrible notion, because the more we could hit, the more armor we have, and also we get a bunch of physical res, which would help cap our resistances out, so we don't have to put it elsewhere. So I'm still not sure about Battle Hardened, but maybe somebody can explain to me if that is worth it, because I could just switch Weapon Master here, 5 points, maybe pick up 5 points of Battle Hardened, do like a 5-5 or switch to 10. I don't know yet. I do not know yet. And, however, at the capstone, we are picking up Master of Arms because we are using a two-hander. It's just like a nice, comfy 16 strength, which is very, very nice. The rest doesn't really do us because we want to keep the Stalwart stacks, which is our passive as a Forge Master. We don't want to spend those. And yeah, we don't use a shield, so there is that. However, we also pick up 15 Paladin points, mandatory, because we do need the Sigil of Hope or the Healing Hands, depending on which version you want to run, of course. So 15 points here, which is nice because we do get a little bit of Elemental Res and Attunement, which is okay because that's going to increase our damage and help with gearing. And then we also have a bit more health with the Valor right here. If you notice that you don't need as much Attunement or Elemental Res, you could take out 5 points here and cap out the Valor for more health and healing effectiveness, which would ironically also increase your Healing Hands and all the other healing effects that are applicable to it. So there it is. Those are the passives that I currently have in mind. Now let's get into the thick of things. In terms of blessings, we are picking up the usual suspects, the Void Res, the All Res, the Flat Armor. I have opted for Shred Physical right here because we are mostly a physical damage. Having some Shred for physical resistances is very, very nice. You could make an argument if you go deeper onto Fire to go with Fire Res. Shred, which I believe is here, Grant Breath of the Cinders, which is a possibility. You could go with a like a Fire, like Ignite build, in which case you would have to switch those. But I am going more crit physical, and I'm just picking up a little flat damage here that happens to be fire. So it is what it is. And then we also have health regen and increased health regen right here, because there's literally nothing really better here. I could pick up the mana, but I don't really think I need it. I mean, I don't do lightning rest, I don't need the resistances, I don't need the ward per second. There really isn't much better here for the grand rhythm of the tide, so a little bit of regen, I guess it is what it is. In terms of idols, we are picking up pretty much whatever we need. So if we need poison res, we need 1 technically to max out if we have a high roll. Otherwise, 2 medium rolls should do fine to cap out our poison res quite considerably. Once we have that, just try to get as much health and armor as you can. As you can see, double healths. We do pick up a Throne of Ambition because it gives us more armor and a little bit more fire damage, which is very, very comfy. In terms of the 1x1s, what you want to pick up is pretty much whatever you want, as long as it gives you good stats, right? Like, we're not playing a dot build, so we want to pick up the other one, Lagonian, because that will give us armor, which is, of course, very, very good. There's nothing else here. And health. But you can also pick up a little bit of elemental res or cold res or fire res, any kind of res that you would need. It's essentially make it work, then make it work better. But ultimately, it comes down to picking up as much armor as you possibly and humanly can with as much health as you humanly can once you have kept out all your resistances. That's pretty much it. It's very, very simplistic. There's no weird super thing you have to like aim for other than good defensive stats. Now, for the gear, I have opted to follow some of the suggestions I have received. So let's just go through them. I'm picking up, of course, the typical Leonine helmet, Great Helm, which is just the damage reduction. So we are becoming easy crit immune, which is very, very good. Since we are primarily stacking attunement, that's the one we would want to have tier 6, tier 7. We're picking up strength because that's the best way to get armor for that particular stat, as well as a little bit of endurance and percentage health. Endurance is right nice if we can hit the actual caps. I'm a little low on the endurance here because we can cap it at 60%, so I might find ways to maybe increase that or maybe get the threshold higher. I am not sure yet. People are recommending me to spec more into endurance. I'm used to do that through health with like the druid, but it is what it is. For now, I've opted for more armor, because with this build, we might go 7k plus armor, which should give us a lot of DR, as well as a lot of damage over time mitigation with all resistances capped. It should be pretty good, either way. Logi's Hunger was recommended to me through the Discord as a result of sustainability, as well as more minions. Fire skills +2, which is very, very nice, and more base minion crit. A little bit of leech, which is very, very good. Also physical and necrotic res, very comfy. However, I am not sure if we need this because we are also going to run 2 rings that are going to give us a lot of base crit. So I'm not sure if Logi's Hunger is necessarily the best in slot. It certainly is usable and really good, but a nice Exalted might just get you there as well, or perhaps a more rarer amulet might be even better. One of the stars of the shows, however, is the Sword Catcher, an incredible powerhouse. Lots of melee damage, lots of melee skills, a little bit of parry chance that allows us to not only heal our minions, but also heal ourselves and get Frenzy for more damage. Really, really cool. Just an incredible, powerful two-handed axe that applies to this build. It's not mandatory, but it does help out very, very good. I would not want to play this in the end game without it, unless I had a different idea in mind. We also have the Champion Regalia, just one of the better bases due to the fact that it also gives us armor mitigation. On top of that, we pick up as many levels of Forge Strike as possible. We fill that out with attunement and more health, because health is good. Dead damage dealers don't do any DPS at all. The mandatory rings, the Phantom Grip ×2. Not only do you get a bunch of minion skills and base crit chance, which is incredible, you also get base minion crit chance, a bunch of mana, a little bit of flavor damage with a necrotic, more forged weapon duration, which is better for our minion uptime, as we are also nerfing their uptime considerably to make sure they do more damage. So this is going to help us offset that a lot. And then we also have the stats of your gloves applying to your forged weapons, which is an incredible trait. We pick up 2 of those rings, and I believe that bottom line stacks. That's what I've been told. So if we, for example, have a glove like this with massive crit chance, massive attack speed, and shred, I believe our weapons, our forged weapons, our minions, are going to assume some of those stats, and they are becoming incredible, powerful, super speedy, zooming, shredding powerhouses. Because mind you, you can get up to 100% effectiveness on both rings. So theoretically, you can get up to 200% effectiveness of melee attack speed, crit chance, God knows what else, right? Incredible. In terms of the belt, I'm not too sure about this belt. I just did it because it's resistances, it's easy gearing, percentage health, hybrid health, very, very useful. I am eager to find perhaps a nice unique where I can slap some of the health on. And of course, the minion damage and the minion health is just very, very comfy to keep them alive. But I believe I can do better here. I just haven't been able to find out a way to do so. In terms of the boots, this is going to be important to not be a unique, because not only do we want to have massive amounts of movement speed and attunement, and of course the health and hybrid health, but the experimental mod of increased minion damage, if you can get that high enough, you can summon minions as you use a traversal skill, and we have a traversal skill that we are constantly using with low cooldown, right? So we can drag our minions with us, which is very, very cool, if we can take it. But yeah, the experimental goes all the way up to to a considerable amount, which is very, very nice. So the higher, the better. It also gives us more minion damage, which is really, really solid. And that's pretty much my idea right now with the current knowledge that I have. This should give us a pretty solid base to work with. So if you have any suggestions, by all means, let me know in the comments below. I'm going to cook the 2 builds that I know for sure are going to be good, which are going to be a Shaman Avalanche build, and of course the mana stacking Sorc build that everybody and their grandmother is going to be playing, because those are going to be guaranteed to be good, which is why I'm looking outside of the expected boundaries. But yes, if you want to do a Forge Knight, this might be one of the paths forward. Just be wary. It's uncharted territory for most folk, including myself. But I kind of am excited to go into the darkness and see how far I can find my own path before I inevitably cry. Having that said, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck on the cycle launch. I'll see you next time. I'm out.